This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Come November, December, there are, the calendar is usually sort of stuffed with a lot of these, awards for achievement and legal awards and medical awards and awards of all kinds. Tell me, why did you feel the need to start another award?
Well, the reasoning behind the Asian Professional Awards was that there are, as you've said, a number of different awards for the Asian community in the UK. However, there has never been anything which is focused exclusively upon the professions. Now, as a result of that, we wanted to make sure that we all come from professions. I'm a barrister, we have some analysts, we have people who are involved in various companies and so on. We're all coming from a professional background, and we wanted to ensure that we were rewarding and encouraging and inspiring people who come from various backgrounds, who come from various professions. We just need to make sure there are more Asian professionals who are getting into the spotlight.
Okay. Tell me, why is it that, I was speaking to somebody on my way here, and they said that, Asian people love to kind of give themselves awards. It's almost an Asian thing. Is it an Asian thing, or do you think it's a much deeper thing than that? At one level, a lot of Asian people who came to this country in the 60s and 70s don't feel celebrated enough. Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, there's when Asians came to the UK, there's so many stories of Asians like having like £1 or £2. Our parents' generation, they came with basically nothing. Yeah. And they've made very successful businesses, they've built property empires, they've developed their careers, and I think maybe a certain time comes when a community is developed to a certain level where they start beginning to recognise and celebrate some of those successes. So maybe that's why there's various different categories of like Asian awards. There's one for women, there's one for business, and we're sort of focusing on the professions, because second, third and fourth generation Asians, having maybe coming from parents who might be business background or might be just, working class background, most of us being professionals, we need a platform where we can celebrate our successes in a way that's relevant to us.
It's also about celebrating and kind of identifying role models for the future generations that are now integrated in British culture. And it's about allowing them to have people to look up to that they can relate to on kind of their ethnicity, and it kind of helps them to achieve what they want in their career.
It's almost that feeling that if he can do it, so can I.
Sure, yeah. So exactly that kind of role model role where you can then be mentored and you can be taught how you can also achieve what someone else has achieved, and and even just the idea about seeing someone that has become a partner or someone very senior within an organisation that isn't necessarily their own business, that kind of gives a lot of hope to the youngsters that are wanting to go in that field.
Okay. And tell me, as an Asian professional and as somebody who's kind of organising all of this, is it still hard for people from an Asian background to break into professional careers like doctors? And doctors traditionally there have been a lot of Asian doctors, but fields like business and law and corporate careers, is that still hard?
I'm going to give you a very typical answer, which is yes and no. And the yes is it could be a certain profession. So for instance, in legal it's very difficult, still is, to actually break into that profession. There are other careers such as finance and perhaps even IT, dentistry, doctors, where Asians have excelled, and that's why these awards are so important, because actually they recognise the Asians who really do excel, and if there are issues, maybe they highlight them.
And is like the legal profession or corporate, are they still kind of at the top? This kind of cozy middle class and elite kind of posh boy white people groups still exist, do you think?
Well, yes they do, but they're not white. They're white, they're Asian, they're black. There are lots of people who are coming from ethnic minority communities who now fit into that way of being, that sort of...
Do you think it's going far enough though?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. I would say that in the next 5 years or so, we will probably have a Supreme Court judge in the UK who's Asian. We're likely to see the CEOs of major financial institutions, banks, corporations, who are Asian.
Prime Minister?
Not yet. Maybe
No?
not. Maybe not. Not just
No?
yet. But I'd say, 10 years' time, 15 years' time, who knows?
Prime Minister?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we've got some good candidates at the moment. There's one or two good sort of Asian people within, well, there's one in Conservative that comes to mind that, they're certainly breaking the barriers.
People are pushing boundaries.
Yeah, I think people are pushing boundaries, but I think Jazza is probably right in that we're looking at maybe another 10 years or so, or maybe 15 years before we see that, but it's definitely a possibility because we're coming from such a strong background, like academically, very strong skill sets. We're able to, being part of the UK, we're very much integrated into British society. People see us that way, and it's just a matter of time, really.
And do you think, as a community, as as the Asian community as a whole, confidence is also rising? Especially at the function today, you could see so many lawyers, so many people, other businessmen, people from all kind of walks of life doing really well, setting up small businesses within their kind of communities. Do you think confidence is rising?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of, it feeds on itself, doesn't it? So in a way, as you see more role models, as you see more people doing well, it inspires others to do also, and reach out, go up beyond their comfort zone and actually try something that maybe they've really wanted to do. So I think it's kind of self-fulfilling that the more you see that, the more it's going to occur as well.
Yeah. And what's that one thing though you feel that is still yet to be achieved? That one thing, I mean, if you were all drawing up a list for, Asian professionals in England, what is that one thing you feel that still kind of, really leaps out as one area that really needs a lot of work? What would you say?
It's a difficult question. I mean, I think there's been massive progress because if you look, we wouldn't have been able to do this 20 years ago.
Yeah.
There would have been no chance. Now we can create this. I mean, I think it's so positive that we're able to actually hold these awards because there's so many amazing Asian professionals in the UK. I mean, the one thing I'd say is more progress. I think we're going in the right direction. I just want more progress, we're on the right track. Okay. It's a train, and no one's stopping at the moment. I just want it to go faster.
When I say the word Asian professionals in the UK, what's that one word that comes to your mind?
Business.
Successful.
Successful.
Awards.
Pride.
Right, fantastic. So there you go. And a quick query. So to win this Asian professional award, what do you need? I mean, can people like me apply?
Anyone can apply. As long as the categories are there, you're more than welcome to apply.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
You can also nominate anyone else as well. It's all online. Next year's nominations will open up soon, and anyone can apply. And then it's about how many, about getting votes and people to vote for you as well. And
it's all transparent and
it's very open.
100% independent, completely transparent.
Fantastic. So there you go. Next year, maybe you're going to have, an extra applicant. A certain journalist may apply.
I wonder who that would be.
I wonder who I'm talking about. I wonder who. Here we are with four creative people, or I should say allegedly creative people, right?
Legend, exactly.
Okay, three creative people and a legend are joining us for this chat, which is great. The question I want to ask all of you is that how easy or difficult is it to make a career in the arts, in the creative profession? Also, I want to talk to you, being Asian, does that help? Is that an advantage? Is it a disadvantage? And also, any young people watching this, what would your tips be to making it in the creative profession? Let me start with you, Bobby Friction. Really good to have you talking to us. Tell me, I mean, for somebody watching this, a field in the creative arts is not something that Asian parents usually approve of. How easy or difficult was your own journey?
It's funny you said Asian parents, because my dad, and I even say this back to him, he was famous for this exact phrase: Bobby, 99% of people in arts are failure. And he said it over and over again. And actually, certainly now, I look back and I think, oh my gosh, you're right. What you were trying to warn me of wasn't the fact that I was going to be a failure. He was basically trying to say that, you know, statistically, you ain't going to make no money and you're going to be living on the streets. And essentially, that's what he was trying to say.
I think what he said was, Bobby, is what he probably said.
Okay, we can't really air that. It's a family channel. But Bobby, tell me, I mean, you're clearly part of the 1% that has made it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, my dad thinks that now.
Does he think so? Yeah.
Yeah, no, he does. And essentially, my dad got it right first time round. It's almost impossible. There's a glass ceiling, there's a creative glass ceiling, and then on top of that, there's a ceiling going, you're Asian, you ain't coming through. You're black, you're not coming through.
How many ceilings have you got at your house?
There's a lot of ceilings, bro.
About 5 ceilings. It's got a glass ceiling, another ceiling, and this guy lives in like a flat of ceilings. Have you got ceiling?
Tell me your own
ceiling.
Your own
Upstairs ceiling.
Your own experience of being an Asian performer, being out there on stage, cracking funny jokes. Has that been easy?
There are too many ceilings.
And how difficult has it been, or easy?
It's difficult when you walk on ceilings because you can see the thing underneath you. And you think, I got a ceiling, I got another ceiling, I got 5 more ceiling. It's glass ceiling. Ask his dad. If you don't believe me, he just told you, and you're asking me, I'm going to give you the same answer to the ceilings.
Sure. And how do your parents react to you being a comedian?
My dad actually said, we got ceiling after ceiling, and you have to break through the bloody ceiling.
Yeah. But how do they respond? Are they proud of you that you're a
I remember when I told my parents, they were very supportive when they came and saw me in intensive care after they beat me remorsefully. They didn't hold back, and I was in intensive care for at least 3 or 4 weeks. And then when I woke up, I said, look, Dad, this is what I want to do. I need you, bastard! And he put me in intensive care again. And this went on for 3 or 4 weeks. And eventually, I thought it's going to be worth it in the end. One day, I might be talking to NDTV. And if I tell him...
There you go.
It's an important point because most Asian parents, forget the ceiling, the glass ceiling and all the other ceilings, there's the parental ceiling.
Yes.
There's that whole thing of actually saying to your parents, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do what you want me to do, I want to go into the creative arts. And most Asian parents would say exactly what my dad said.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Maybe even beat me up like Paul was beaten remorselessly.
But Bobby, tell me, when you listen to Bobby Friction describing that conversation with parents, do you have a similar experience, or have you heard of people in the creative arts with a similar sort of experience?
Well, I went into sciences, and then about 5 years ago I shifted into the arts. So it was a bit different. Had I decided to go into...
So you were the good boy to start with?
Yeah. I had to be, because of all those ceilings and the expectations and the family pressures and whatever else. I think for youngsters now it might be slightly easier. I don't know if Bobby agrees with that, but it might be slightly easier. I think the attitudes have changed. I think there are enough role models like Bobby and Paul and others who are in the media, who are in the entertainment industry, creative industry, arts industries, who are making their name big. And so there are enough role models and case examples that children can say to their parents, look, so-and-so is doing it, and maybe I can do it as well.
Why do you think that hasn't been the case for so many years? Why haven't there been more Asian role models?
I think it has taken a while. The fact that this award ceremony had, the doctor and the legal and the IT and public services, etc. And they had the media and the design and creative was sort of right at the end. It might sort of show the priority level as well. It's sort of right at the end, It's a slow process. It will take a while, but I'm a bit hopeful. I think in the next 10.
When you hear of all of these gentlemen talking about their own experiences and their own journeys, apart from being Asian, being a woman, being an Asian woman, is that harder?
No, I don't think so. You need to have passion for what you want to do and just do it. You will have parents, like my dad wanted me to become a doctor. So I did a nursing degree or qualification for 2 years, decided it's not what I want to do, and I went into designing. He still thinks until early today that you should have had a proper job. But now when I called him and said I won the award, he said, I couldn't be prouder, and you're the first one to have been awarded in our family. So.
And what got you interested in design?
My dad used to redecorate the house all the time back in the days, and he used to come home with wallpaper and fabrics and everything. I used to paint, so twice a year we'll redecorate. I used to move the furniture around, so I think that's caught up by my dad.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah.
And Bobby, tell me, I mean, this whole thing about not having enough Asian role models, in media, that is a problem, right? I mean, for young people who are Asian, sort of have that thing that, gosh, am I going to make it? I mean, are people going to accept me on stage? How easy is this?
It's different than 20 years ago when my dad was screaming 99% of people are failures.
You had 99 problems, but your career won't won.
That's entirely true. Entirely true.
I got 99 problems, and one more problem is a glass ceiling.
Sure.
But it's changed in the last 20 years. But it's still hard. You're right about the role models. There's not enough role models. I think the situation is there's enough role models doing comedy, doing arts, doing all of these professional kind of avenues, especially in the worlds of music, which is where I come from, and broadcasting as well. But then you have the last issue, and that is the role models are there, but kids these days need to access them. And it's up to big channels, big media organisations. You work for a big media organisation. It's a very powerful thing, the fourth estate.
And that actually gets me.
In the UK, that doesn't happen that much.
Exactly, and that actually gets me to something that Greg Dyke, who was in charge of the BBC a few years ago, said that the organisation is still hideously white. A lot of people, disagreed with that. There was outrage about that in the public media. But that still is true for a lot of organisations.
He talked about it being hideously white. I think the bigger problem is the BBC and the media is hideously middle class. I think actually that's a bigger problem, that if you're born, doesn't matter what colour, religion
class,
you are,
yeah.
it's more of a class thing. In fact, there's another ceiling there. There's a working class ceiling, there's a middle class ceiling.
Yeah.
And on that level, I think that's actually a bigger problem. The BBC and the media are hideously middle class. And actually the real creativity, it's not happening in that section of society right now. It's happening on the fringes, religious fringes, economic fringes, fringes from communities who aren't represented. Basically, people living on the periphery of society. Okay.
And Paul, when you hear of all of this, the one thing that comes to mind is that why is it that an Asian comedian isn't in in the top 5 or top 10 comedians that usually appear on television? I mean, why do you think that is? And do you agree with that?
I think you are. Yeah. I think Paul is in the top 10 in this country.
But it's taken like 20 years to get there.
Because the thing is, this channel doesn't know who I am. So it's quite good when they're doing their research and they're asking me questions that I have done. Sure, I've been on live at the Apollo and BBC One. I've had my own DVD with Universal Pictures, which is a big film company that releases Hollywood films. I'm doing another DVD with them. I can sell out almost 100 dates.
But the point is that there aren't more like you. I mean, the kind of number of Asian comedians is very limited,
That's a good thing. I don't need the competition.
Anybody watching this, a young kind of Asian person wanting to break into the creative arts, what would you say to him? One line of advice.
I think the key thing, the reason why Bobby's parents and Paul's parents and all of our parents would have freaked out 20 years ago or 10 years ago is because they don't think that this kind of work can earn us enough money. Yeah. For them, they've struggled. See it from their perspective. They've come here with very little money. They've struggled. They don't want their children to struggle. And that's why they say become a doctor, become an engineer, become an accountant, because they know there's security there, there's money there, there's stability there. If we can prove to them that these creative industries, whether it's theatre, whether it's acting, whether it's comedy, whether it's working for the media or working in literature like I do, if we can somehow prove to our parents and our families and our community that, look, these genres, these areas,
you are able to make enough money.
To break even, make money, become a successful business person, like Karen has here, and make her father proud of her. I think that's the key, and that's what we need to work on.
Okay. One last word of advice for a young person watching this.
Follow your dreams and never give up.
Okay, lovely. Bobby?
Fight the good fight, and if you can't fight the good fight, fight the bad fight. If you can't fight the bad fight, fight yourself. If you can't fight yourself, fight them all and win.